Hello everyone, I'm making this video to give you a review of the latest Dragon Age Inquisition DLC, The Descent, and hopefully I will help you decide whether or not you should ultimately buy the DLC. Truth be told, I'm not even sure if I can spoil anything. The story is such that I can hardly spoil much. I mean, the DLC is pretty short, and while the story as you go through it is interesting, all you do is finding hints and clues and leads to something, and there is never an ultimate payoff in the end. You're left with more questions than answers, and I can't say I really recommend it, not for $15, not for full price. I mean, if you compare it to Jaws of Hakon, back there I said that I would also not recommend it for full price because the main story was short. It was interesting, I admit, but there were a lot of side stuff in between the important sections that wasn't really interesting and that was flat out boring at times. And so I didn't quite enjoy playing through some parts of it. This one though, the new one, Descent, is more streamlined. You probably won't be bored while playing through it. However, the story is just as short, and at least Hakon had some sort of conclusion, you know, when you meet Inquisitor Meriden. The story of this one would be similar to the main story of Hakon if you didn't actually meet the Inquisitor in the end. Now, come to think of it, it also reminds me of the Legacy DLC in Dragon Age 2, where you go on an adventure, you discover hints and clues and learn interesting things, and your perception of the world is being challenged, and ultimately you meet Corypheus and you made some interesting discoveries. Similar thing here, only you never meet Corypheus, you never really have this conclusion. It's left for some point in the future, I suppose. But don't get me wrong, the story is interesting, right? I was really curious to have a wrap up of all the information we learn, all the questions that we ask ourselves as we go through the story. Now, I will go over something that might be considered minor spoilers, so you can skip to this point in the video that you see on the screen. However, I wouldn't necessarily call it spoilers, but just to be warned. So, while we play through the DLC, interesting questions arise, such as what is causing these earthquakes? Is the stone really have a mind of its own? We see the dwarves call it a she, so they assign some sort of personality to it, or to her. Why does this apparent intelligence want to destroy lyrium mines? Apparently it doesn't like mining lyrium for some reason, even though that has been the case for I don't know how long. Do titans exist, or do they not? And if they do, why have they been arguably erased from the memories or the history of the dwarves? What are those lyrium dwarves that you find? Are they the original dwarves? Why don't the darkspawn go in these places? What's the deal with consuming lyrium? We know it tends to drive dwarves insane. However, those dwarves who apparently consumed lyrium were sort of enhanced. And also, is that the actual blood that fuels that titan? Are these titans the creators of the dwarves? That's very much World of Warcrafty, you know, the titans there created the dwarves made of stone. Can dwarves cast magic? Do they, that stone sense, is it the titans speaking to them? Why wasn't there any mention of red lyrium? Is that titan sort of trying to preserve the last bits of pure lyrium and fight off the darkspawn that are corrupting it or something? Were these dwarves that served the titan or lived inside the titan immortal? A lot of interesting questions, and even the Shaper in the end says she's gonna try and find answers, and your main character admits that you're living with more questions than answers. I didn't like that. I wanted some sort of a conclusion. I wanted some sort of big reveal towards the end, and there was just nothing. You walk through it, you discover all sorts of mysterious clues and hints, and finally you fight a boss. The Shaper becomes all enhanced or something. Kind of remind me of Larias in the Legacy DLC. Hopefully we don't get to see her as a main villain in the next Dragon Age game. But anyway, enough with the spoilerish talk. So ultimately, I would say, if you don't know, by the way, Jaws of Hakon is right now on sale for $10. You can go buy it if you want. Maybe wait until this goes on sale, hopefully it will, and then buy it. For $15, while the journey is decent, by the way, great voice acting from Ren, not so great voice acting for the Shaper. Ultimately the story is interesting and you will be engaged into it, you'll be curious to progress and learn more and discover the next clue. However, you will not get an ultimate payoff. You will not get this big reveal that you're hoping to get. So my final verdict is that $15 for this DLC right now is not worth it. It's short, there are no choices to make, there is no exploration to be done, and there is no real ending to the story. Has good music though, so you enjoy the music. So there you have it, that was all I had to say about Dragon Age Inquisition: The Descent. Not a bad DLC, but ultimately not much of a progress from Jaws of Hakon. In fact, I've already had some comments saying that this is even worse than Jaws of Hakon. In my opinion, they're about the same, and just wait till it goes on sale and then buy it. That's my recommendation. Otherwise, I hope we will get a real expansion to the game sometime soon, and until then, thank you very much for watching, stay tuned, and be good.